Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for January 24th, 2024. Well, yesterday we had those bulls really fighting hard in the SPY and QQQ while the diamonds went lower. And then we got the Netflix report after the bell. Everything seems pretty happy this morning. Let's take a look at what happened overnight. First off, we had Asian markets closing mixed with the Nikkei and South Korea being just a little bit lower. Everything else moving up. As a matter of fact, Hong Kong really surged again, up 3.56% or 545 points. And even Shanghai had a good day last night, up 1.8%. If we take a look at Europe, Europe is bullish across the board this morning. In fact, I would say decidedly bullish this morning, trying to push higher. Eurozone PMI data over there is showing an improved economic activity. And then if we take a look at our U.S. futures this morning, we are also bullish this morning, looking for another gap up with the NASDAQ once again surging pretty dramatically here this morning in gap up after the Netflix earnings and the big rise happening in Netflix. Big tech continues to drive this market hard. Let's take a look at what we've got going on in oil. Oil prices are a little bit mixed this morning, slightly higher, slightly lower between oil and Brent, and natural gas is bouncing up this morning. Boy, natural gas has been incredibly volatile. Interesting market right now. And then, of course, bonds this morning are moving just a little bit lower. We're getting closer and closer to that GDP report. And now the market has decided they can lower their risk on those bonds. So interesting morning setting up. Bulls are still clearly in control. What does that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you very much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, one of our first things that we should try to do is shake off a little bit of bias, and then let's just take a look and see what the charts are telling us. First off, if we take a look at the diamonds, you can see we've got a very nice looking chart here at the moment. We broke through this price resistance here in the chart. That nice consolidation, we've pulled back, we've held, and this morning in the pre-market we're trying to push this higher. So yesterday we did come down and test this support in the chart, but now we're bouncing on higher here, showing more bullishness in the market, trying to push up. Remember, there's blue sky above, so there really is no upside limit on the chart. You could, use something like Fibonacci or something to look for those next upside potential targets, but for now, blue sky above. If the bears were to find any inspiration, well, we know that we could push back down here and test this price support. The only thing that would be of worry is if that were to break, and then we'd look for some pretty big point moves in a pullback. So far, there's nothing in here that would suggest that. If we take a look at our SPY, also just extremely bullish, if not a little bit scary, just simply because we are so overly bullish here in the market with absolutely no fear in this market. It really is a chase. It's a big game of chase right now into this. And here we go again with another big gap up open here this morning on the SPY. So watch that carefully as we continue to stretch to the upside, adding those PE ratios and just piling them higher and higher and higher. Hopefully these companies, as we enter the heavy area of earnings, can continue to produce enough to justify those numbers. Now, taking a look here in our SPY, notice that we have blue sky above, so every reason to believe that we can just continue to rip to the upside. If we were to find some bearish information today and pull back, maybe we retest these little dojis here in the chart for that pullback, and if those were to fail, maybe the top of that candle, and then after that we'd be back down here testing this breakout in the chart. But right now there's nothing in this chart that suggests that. One thing we always have to consider in a gap up open where we gap up into blue sky highs is that possibility we run into something and we end up whipsawing and pulling back. So watch that for that carefully. And the possibility of some big point moves are still here as we approach this data heading into Thursday. And then if we take a look at it, QQQ also just extremely bullish, pushing to the upside, really stretching out once again. We continue to set up these big parabolic moves, and then we'll rest a little tiny bit and then go right back into parabolic moves in the chart. So looking at this, you can see that possibility with blue sky above. Hey, the sky's the limit at the moment, and no one seems to be concerned about the chase that's going on here in the market at all. So if we find any bearish activity, maybe a pullback here to fill that gap and maybe test some support there. Past that, we're coming down into the underneath side of that to test that support. Beyond that, we get into probably some pretty big point pullbacks if that were to occur, pulling back maybe even as low as into here, coming back to test this new upside trend. So watch that carefully in the QQQ. Again, watching for those potential whipsaws when we gap like this. And then if we take a look at our Russell IWM had a good day yesterday, gapping up, but leaving a bit of a dark cloud cover. But the good news on this is that we pushed back above this downtrend break that I've had measured in here for some time. And you can see that downtrend break, if we hold that as support, then I will turn this line right here once again green, like we did over here. We popped through, we held, I turned it green, then it went back to red when we pulled back below and held it as resistance and started to show that failure. So watch that carefully in here. If we can hold this area as support, that would be bullish for IWM. Watch that closely. Any follow through to the dark cloud cover might provide a little bit of concern here in the Russell. Let's take a look at our VIX. Boy, when it comes to the VIX, there's just no fear here in the market at all. We continue to move on lower, pushing down into some of these price areas of the VIX that are pretty darn complacent overall. And that's a lot of what I'm concerned about here in the market, is that we've got such a sense of chase here in the market and we're not really looking at a lot of the overall details out there, like manufacturing and massive decline and debts and those kind of things. We're just ignoring all of that in the rush to hurry up and buy something. Now that can continue for quite a period of time. One of the things that I learned a long time ago is a market can remain irrational a lot longer than I can remain solvent in trying to fight that direction. So stay with the trend here in the market. Just acknowledge the fact that one day we could move to the downside, and it could be a substantial move to the downside. So watch that carefully here. VIX showing no fear, and no fear means that we might be getting just a little bit complacent here. If we take a look at our T2122, our T2122 pushed back down yesterday. We had more stocks in decline than those going up yesterday. That's going to change this morning. As a matter of fact, I think T2122 is likely going to be parked near the roof here this morning in the bearish reversal zone on T2122 with the big gap up that we're seeing here today. And if the bears happen to come in and find some inspiration here, just keep in mind we've opened up a big opportunity for a downside move. If, for example, we get some numbers maybe tomorrow in the durable goods CPI numbers that might cause some worry or concern for the market, we've opened a big downside opportunity. So again, watch for that potential whipsaw in the market. Our T2108 also pulled back yesterday. Once again, the percentage of stocks holding above the 40-day moving average pulling back just slightly yesterday, but I don't see that as a major problem. We did break through this resistance here in the chart, holding that area of price support above here. We're in good shape. With the bullishness that we see this morning in the pre-market, I suspect this is going to push on higher. We may be up here testing some other resistance levels in the chart here soon in T2108. And then in T2107, once again, pulled back, more stocks pulling back yesterday than going higher. But we continue to elevate these indexes, mostly on the back of those Mag 7s and a few others that add some weight to the market. But a lot of stocks are languishing here, not doing a whole lot in the market. So just keep that in mind. Nothing wrong here with this chart. Again, we're holding some price support. So that little bit of rest yesterday was no problem at all. And if the bulls can find inspiration, well, we certainly see we could push up here, test some resistance levels. Now keep in mind, once we get up here above this 60 area in the chart, we start becoming very, very extended and frothy in the T2107. So watch carefully for that possibility as well. And again, that possible whipsaw. And then T2101, interesting day yesterday in T2101. We saw breadth increase. But we saw breadth increase with more stocks declining than going up. So I have to give this just a little bit a nod to a concern, because if we were to see this continue to extend on a bearish wave, that would be a problem. But my guess is this morning what we're going to see is this is going to bounce substantially higher this morning on this big energy coming into the market after the Netflix report. So keep an eye on that. I think that breadth is likely to expand on the bullish side today. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here now. Our economic calendar, not a lot, but at least we have something on the calendar today to potentially react to. We haven't had much the first couple of days of the week. As you can see, we've got mortgage applications coming in this morning. We're going to have a PMI composite flash here today. We'll want to be watching for that. Let's take a quick look. Consensus is suggesting manufacturing comes in at 47.7. Again, anything under 50 is in contraction on the manufacturing side. I think there's even a possibility that could miss on that PMI. Now, services continuing to stay strong in here at 51, just above kind of that stall speed on services in the PMI, showing just little tiny bits of growth there in that one. So watch that close this morning. And then we're going to have the petroleum status. That could be interesting today to see how consumers are dealing with that petroleum. Will we continue to see builds in supplies? Builds in supplies would keep those prices maybe moving lower. If we happen to see a surprise decline in supplies, that would say that those consumers are really out there spending again, and that could push those prices higher on oil. So watch that carefully. Survey of business uncertainty, probably no one's going to care much on that one. We've got 4 2-month and 5-month bond auctions here today. Again, probably not going to be much of a concern, but we will want to be paying close attention on how we position ourselves for tomorrow morning. Durable goods orders, GDP number, international trading good, and jobless claims. All of these are substantial market moving potential reports, and all of them come out prior to the market open. So be prepared. Tomorrow we could either have some really big bullish activity, we could have some bearish activity in the market. So think about how you're leaving yourself exposed today. How do you want to go into those numbers tomorrow? These could be pretty substantial moves. We'll have to wait and see, but obviously make sure that you have your plan in place to protect yourself on those moves. And then we have Chicago national activity, retail inventories, wholesale inventories, new home sales, natural gas report, and that is going to be building us right up to the Friday number, the Fed's favorite number, personal incomes and outlays here. So watch carefully and be prepared. The next couple of days we could see some substantial volatility in the market. And considering volatility, boy, we're going to really start ramping up those earnings reports. There is no way I can cover all of these earnings this morning because the list is starting to grow pretty substantially on the numbers that we'll be reporting today. So I'm going to run through these. Make sure you click the link below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog where you can catch the full list. Probably one of the most notable here this morning is today is going to be Tesla after the bell today. Keep an eye on that for that report. We're also going to hear from stocks like IBM. That's certainly going to be one of those important reports to pay attention to. IBM has been surging and racing to the upside here. We're going to hear from some defensive sector stocks like Kimberly-Clark. Looks like that's pulling back a little bit here this morning. We're going to hear from Seagate Technology. That's been ripping heading into this earnings report. We've got some copper in that. FCX looks like that's popping up a bit here today, and we've got General Dynamics that will be in here. We'll also hear from some retail excuse me, not a retail, I was thinking American Eagle, gold miners in here. So keep an eye on all of these potential reports and make sure you go check out that full list because those lists are growing pretty substantially here over the day. Now, a lot of these reports will be in the afternoon. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button. Also click that bell icon so that leave a brief comment so that it's the engagement with the channel that makes a big difference. And I apologize, I didn't get to those yesterday. Just a little bit crazy morning, and I will be back on that case here today answering those comments. So thank you, everyone who does take the time to do that. It means the world to me. I truly do appreciate it. Let's take a look at some of these stocks. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful here in the market. And make sure you plan carefully heading into Thursday. Never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. So first off, let's take a look at Shopify. Shopify making a move here in the pre-market. I set an alert on this yesterday, and you may have caught a news report. Shopify is going to, because of a law in Europe that requires Apple to allow apps to be used on the phones, they are going to be reinitiating their app on the App Store. So kind of keep an eye on this. That's good news, I think, for Shopify, and they're in a good position here to potentially move on higher in that bullish pattern. Let's take a look at stocks like CCJ. Nice little pop here yesterday, holding some support here in this chart, trying to push on higher. This is going to be really important, I think, depending on how the dollar plays out. Anything commodity-wise has effect in the dollar. With the bonds falling today, the dollar should weaken a bit. That should help stocks like CCJ here push to the upside. And I like that little bounce here in that, so watch that carefully. Now, I actually went with a different stock here. I went with URA. So I picked up URA yesterday, so I have a little bit of bias in this sector and obviously a bias on this stock. But nice little bounce here off of this price support moving up, and looks like we're trying to extend here this morning in URA. So keep an eye on that. Nice chart here overall. And if you'd like to find out more information about how we do that, remember guys, you can take a trial to the Right Way Option service, and you can be with us for an entire month for less than a cost of a pizza. Jump over there to the website and take a look. And obviously, if you go to the blog by clicking that link below, it'll take you back to the blog, and there's actually a banner ad in there that you can click on to go directly to that discounted offer and see how we do this kind of thing. And you can see that I'm very, very picky about the trades I take. I believe in a strategy of trading less and making more by being picky about the trades I take. So if that sounds good to you, come over and take a look at us. Give us a shot and ask some questions. We'll be glad to help. Let's take a look at a few other stocks in here. Boy, we had a big move yesterday in some defensive sector stocks. Commodities, you guys know I've been talking about this and that alert right here on Commodities, that following through to the upside. Nice little stretch in that chart, trying to push on higher here. I saw this across several areas of defensive sector stocks. SJM making a move here. Schmucker's trying to move on higher. Colgate, Palmolive stretching through here to the upside. Saw stocks like Coca-Cola trying to come back here just a little bit, still holding into that bullish pattern here in the chart. Hershey trying to break higher. You guys know I've been talking about this as a potential, watching that closely. Had a nice little shot yesterday, trying to push on through, maybe break some of this resistance in the chart. Keep an eye on Hershey. So quite a few defensive sector stocks in there, and I can include Walmart into that list. Wally World doing a pretty good job yesterday. It popped this alert and then had to rest back here to trend, but you can see that push going on here in Wally World and that potential that we could stretch on up here. Testing this next resistance in the chart does look like a possibility, and there's plenty of time. We've got a month here, just short of a month I should say, before we hit our next earnings report. So keep an eye on Walmart, looking pretty good there overall. So there are a lot of stocks in that sector showing some pretty good signs of strength to the upside. You might want to keep a little bit of an eye on things like gold. Gold finding a little bit of price support in here. This really isn't ready for prime time. And the reason I say that is we still got to break this downtrend here in the chart. But if we're going to weaken those bond yields, and if that continues, then we're likely to see the dollar continue to weaken. If the dollar continues to weaken as we weaken the bond yields, we could see this move sharply higher. So keep an eye on gold. There seems to be an interesting thing going on here. A little bit of concern overall on world economies, and we're stiffening up here in gold. So keep an eye on gold, keep an eye on silver, and then of course keep an eye on anything in that commodity area. If the dollar weakens, one of the places that we might want to start watching today would be some of the oil sector here. Oil has been very volatile here recently, pushing down. You can see we got a little bit of a push here to the upside. Again, weakening dollar improves the strength of whoops, got the wrong symbol here, improves the strength of anything in the commodity sector because it takes more dollars to buy the same amount of product. So looking at this chart in here, you can see we're pushing back up toward this downtrend. One would have to wonder, we're obviously going to continue to need oil and gas here in this country, and pushing back up into this resistance could set up an actual short. But if we can break through there and then hold a higher low, we might start resuming upside trends in some of these. So keep an eye in that area. There are stocks out there like PSX that's just barely pulled back here in the market, and you can see surging back up. So break that little downtrend, pop back up through and hold. We might be in good shape. If it fails here, that would be a classic short. So keep an eye on there. Anything is possible in that sector. We'll be finding more out about that today. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it so much. Be careful, be safe. Remember, tomorrow could be a big day, so position yourself carefully heading into Thursday. I want to wish you all the very, very best. Take care.